The alarm did not scream. It whispered. Inside Imperial Sensor Command, a chamber larger than a city square, thousands of displays shifted at once. Lines of data hesitated, then realigned, as if unsure of what they were seeing. Officers paused mid-step. Analysts stopped speaking. For a single breath, the room existed in silence. Then the whisper spread. A junior sensor technician stared at his panel, eyes wide, fingers frozen above the console. The return signal was wrong. Not weak, not distorted. Wrong in a deeper way. It had no echo trail, no mass shadow, no entry vector. It simply appeared, already inside monitored space. He checked again, then again. The system confirmed the reading with cold certainty. An object was moving through Imperial territory at a speed that should have torn space apart. The technician reported upward, voice tight. His supervisor leaned over the display, then called for verification. Within seconds, the anomaly jumped levels, bypassing routine filters and landing directly on the command dais. Senior officers gathered, their confidence fading as the data stabilized. The vessel had no transponder code. No energy signature that matched known drives. No radiation bloom, no gravitational wake. It was not cloaked, it was not hidden. It was simply unfamiliar to the point of impossibility. The Empire had watched the galaxy for 10,000 years. Nothing moved like this. A tactical officer ran a predictive model. The projection failed. The object changed direction without slowing, without banking, without obeying inertia. It curved across space like a thought changing its mind. Someone whispered that it had to be a sensor ghost. The room answered with 1,000 quiet denials as independent arrays confirmed the same truth. Deep space stations, border relays, even civilian traffic monitors. All of them saw it. Fleet Command was notified. Then Strategic Defense. Then the High Council. Protocols unfolded with perfect speed, but fear moved faster. Warships were placed on standby. Border gates closed. Civilian traffic froze in place as emergency lights pulsed across Imperial space. Still the vessel did nothing. It did not accelerate. It did not decelerate. It did not transmit. It did not hide. Crossed system boundaries as if the lines were imaginary, passing through sensor nets designed to detect supernova debris and ancient weapons. An admiral arrived in person, his armor gleaming, his voice controlled. He demanded classification. There was none. Every known species had a profile. Every extinct culture left patterns. Even myths had signatures. This vessel matched nothing. It was smaller than a battleship, larger than a scout, smooth in outline, yet sharp in data return, as if its shape refused to settle. A weapons officer requested firing authorization, citing doctrine. Unknown objects were threats by default. The admiral hesitated. The Empire had learned caution the hard way, long ago. They had fired first at a silent object. The result had been a lost fleet, and a scar still glowing on the edge of the core worlds. The admiral ordered tracking only. That was when the vessel reacted. Without warning, it altered course and appeared 5 million kilometers away from its previous position. It's not traveled. Appeared. The timestamps overlapped. For a fraction of a second, it existed in 2 places, then in 1. Several officers stepped back from their consoles as if the screens might strike them. The vessel now faced the inner systems. It was not heading toward a military target. It was not approaching a colony. It was moving along a path that suggested curiosity, not aggression. It traced sensor lines, skirted defense grids, and lingered just long enough near each installation for full analysis. Someone realized the truth too late. The ship was watching them. Imperial countermeasures activated automatically. Passive scans intensified. Active probes launched, burning hard to intercept. None came close. The probe's guidance systems failed as the vessel slipped between predicted positions, always just out of reach, always aware. Communications officer tried every known protocol. Formal challenge, threat warning, emergency hailing. Silence answered all of them. Fear settled deep and heavy. This was not the fear of invasion. It was the fear of being measured and found lacking. In the High Council chamber, ancient beings argued across light years. Some demanded annihilation. Others urged restraint. The vessel had not attacked. It had not even acknowledged them. To strike blindly was to invite disaster. While they argued, the ship continued its slow, deliberate journey. It passed a fortress world without pause, skimmed the edge of a shipyard where thousands of vessels rested, helpless to lock onto it. Engineers watched their targeting systems fail and felt something crack inside their pride. This was the Empire. Nothing was beyond its reach. Till now. Deep within the vessel, unseen and unchallenged, human systems recorded everything. Reaction times, sensor ranges, command delays, weapon lock thresholds. The ship's AI marked each response with calm efficiency. The humans had waited centuries for this moment. Back in sensor command, exhaustion spread. Hours passed. The vessel remained, not threatening, not retreating. It's present. Its impossible speed was now restrained, controlled, as if it wished to be observed. An analyst finally spoke the thought no one wanted to voice. "This is not a scout," she said. "To test." The room went still. If this was a test, then the Empire was not the examiner. The vessel adjusted course one final time, drifting toward the dark between stars. Before it vanished, a single data burst rippled across Imperial networks. Not a message, not yet, just a pulse, perfectly timed, perfectly measured. Then it was gone. No pursuit followed. None could. Across Imperial space, leaders sat in silence, understanding the truth at last. Something had entered their domain without permission, without effort, and without fear. And somewhere beyond the reach of the Empire, humanity had just confirmed what it already suspected. The galaxy was not ready. The silence left behind by the vanished vessel felt heavier than its presence. In Imperial Sensor Command, officers remained at their stations long after the displays returned to normal. No one trusted the comm. Data logs replayed again and again, each pass confirming the same impossible facts. The object had obeyed none of the rules that defined reality for the Empire. Orders arrived from the High Council within minutes. Every archive was to be opened. Every forbidden database. Every sealed record from lost wars and dead civilizations. Analysts worked without rest, eyes red, minds strained, searching for anything that matched what they had seen. They found nothing. Not a fragment. Not a rumor. Not a theoretical model. The vessel did not fit known physics. Did not fit forbidden physics. It did not even fit the Empire's wildest fears. The more they searched, the clearer it became that the ship had no history inside galactic memory. That truth disturbed the elders more than any weapon. A senior historian spoke quietly during a secure council feed. He reminded them that every power left traces, even those erased by genocide or time-left echoes in art, language, or debris. This vessel had none. It was as if it belonged to a civilization that had learned to move without touching the past. Fleet Command proposed a wide-net response. Interceptor wings were deployed along predicted vectors. Long-range mines activated in deep space corridors. Gravity traps armed and waiting. The Empire did not know where the ship had gone, but it would be ready when it returned. Hours later, a border relay went dark. No explosion, no distress call. One moment it transmitted routine telemetry, the next, silence. Before panic could spread, the relay came back online. Systems intact, crew alive. No signs of damage, except the clocks. Every timepiece aboard was wrong by the same fraction of a second. The same fraction measured during the vessel's brief overlap event inside Sensor Command. Engineers felt a chill as the pattern became clear. The ship had been there, not attacking, not disabling, touching, leaving a mark so small it could only be intentional. Imperial scientists argued over explanations. Some claimed advanced phase shifting. Others proposed localized time folding. A few whispered about forbidden dimensions. None could explain how the vessel did it without catastrophic energy release. The Empire's power was built on excess. Bigger reactors, louder weapons, stronger shields. Whatever this was, it worked through control, not force. The vessel appeared again, 3 systems away. This time, the Empire was ready. Sensor nets locked instantly. Predictive engines ran at full capacity. Warships aligned, Weapons charged, commanders holding their breath. The object moved, slow and deliberate, as if allowing itself to be seen. A probe launched, then another. Both failed to register impact or miss. They simply ceased to exist at a precise distance from the vessel, their data feeds ending without noise. Fear sharpened into something colder. A weapons officer requested authorization again. The High Council debated in real time, voices overlapping, ancient pride clashing with growing doubt. If they did nothing, they looked weak. If they struck and failed, they invited disaster. Authorization was granted for a single test. A focused energy beam fired from a distant cruiser, calibrated to be non-lethal by Imperial standards. The beam crossed the void in perfect alignment. The vessel was not there when it arrived. It was elsewhere, close enough for visual confirmation. Smooth hull, no markings, no weapon ports, no obvious engines. It rotated slowly, presenting different profiles to different sensors, as if curious how each would react. The test had failed. Across command channels, unease turned into alarm. The Empire was being studied, not challenged. Every response, every delay, every mistake was recorded by an intelligence that did not rush. Inside the vessel, human operators remained calm. No voices were raised, no hands shook. The ship's systems translated Imperial reactions into clean, simple metrics. The Empire favored intimidation. It hesitated under uncertainty. Its strength depended on predictable rules. Those rules could be bent. The ship adjusted course and skimmed along a major trade route. Civilian traffic froze in terror. Merchant captains watched the unknown craft pass through their formations without disturbing a single particle of exhaust. News spread fast. On core worlds, citizens gathered around public feeds. Commentators struggled to explain what even the military could not. For the first time in generations, the Empire could not promise safety through dominance. The vessel paused near a star, bathing in radiation that would have stripped lesser ships to atoms. Its shields did not flare. Its hull did not glow. Sensors reported absorption, not resistance. That was when the High Council understood. This ship did not survive the galaxy. It mastered it. A final command went out. All forces were ordered to stand down. No more probes, no more weapons tests. The Empire would observe and wait. As if acknowledging the decision, the vessel altered course once more. It did not retreat. It moved deeper, toward the heart of Imperial space, unchallenged. In sensor command, an analyst whispered what many now believed but feared to say aloud. "This is not an invasion," she said. "It's an introduction." Far beyond Imperial reach, human command confirmed the same conclusion. The Empire was reacting exactly as expected. Curious, proud, afraid. The test was only beginning. The Empire was not used to uncertainty. Every decision, every fleet movement, every sensor ping had a rule, a protocol, and now all of it failed. The unknown vessel, calm and deliberate, moved as if the Empire did not exist. And that was a message that struck deeper than any weapon. Fleet Command ordered the assembly of a strike group unlike any before. Battleships, cruisers, and interceptors lined up along multiple vectors, forming a web designed to trap the impossible. The officers called it the Gauntlet. Every ship carried the latest weapons, the deadliest sensors, the fastest engines. Yet, even as they positioned themselves, hesitation rippled through the ranks. They knew instinctively that failure here would not be simple embarrassment, it would be catastrophic. The unknown vessel approached the first layer of the gauntlet. All weapon systems were locked on. Predictive targeting ran calculations at speeds impossible for the human mind to follow. The ship did not accelerate or slow. It glided through the web with perfect timing. It did not evade and panic, did not attack. It simply moved. The Empire watched in disbelief as their most advanced warships could not predict its location. An admiral barked orders, "Fire everything, intercept, track, do not let it slip." Energy beams, plasma lances, and guided missiles unleashed in unison. Screens filled with streaks of light. Explosions bloomed in empty space, where the ship had been predicted to appear. And then, where the vessel had been aimed at, nothing existed. Sensors registered a fraction of a second too late. Ship was gone. A weapons officer screamed in frustration. "It cannot be. Our calculations are perfect." The admiral's face hardened. "Then your calculations are wrong." The vessel's hull shimmered faintly, almost like a mirage. It changed orientation slowly, as if to watch the Empire struggle. Every probe, every weapon, every tactical maneuver was being observed and recorded. The Empire's pride had become a tool in human hands, used to measure its limits. One young officer, barely 20 standard years old, noticed a pattern. The ship appeared in exact positions where Imperial calculations assumed it would not be. Every system, every strategy, every precaution the Empire had relied upon was being tested for flaws. He realized that unlike a normal enemy, this one was not seeking destruction. It was seeking understanding of them. Meanwhile, back at Sensor Command, the High Council argued furiously. Some demanded escalation, an all-out strike to destroy the anomaly before it could learn more. Others urged patience, recognizing that rushing would only expose weakness. The debates became heated, voices cutting through the chamber like blades. Even the elders, long accustomed to absolute authority, found themselves questioning their own judgment. A fleet captain finally broke the stalemate. "We have one chance to show dominance. If we fail, we may never get another. Prepare the Omega Strike. Full power, maximum coordination. It must hit. It must register. We cannot allow this thing to measure us and leave unchallenged." The command was executed. Ships adjusted, sensors aligned, weapons synchronized. The Empire's full force was aimed at a single point where they believed the ship would appear. Every calculation, every history lesson, every archived tactic, everything the Empire had learned in thousands of years, converged into a single effort. The vessel did appear just for a heartbeat. Its silhouette brushed against the sensors. The fleet fired. Energy lances cut through space. Missiles screamed along their paths. But the vessel was not there when the attacks arrived. It had shifted again, moving along a vector that no Imperial computer could predict, no officer could anticipate. The Omega Strike hit empty space. Commanders reeled, ships trembled, weapons flickered and recalibrated. The reality was undeniable. The Empire had been outmatched without a single human on board, that vessel raising a hand in combat. A scientist spoke quietly in the corner, almost to herself. They are learning us faster than we learn them." The Admiral gritted his teeth. "Then we must force the lesson. Full pursuit. No hesitation. No protocol. We break the rules if we must." Fleets pushed forward, engines burning beyond recommended limits. Interceptors darted in every possible direction, trying to anticipate the vessel's next impossible move. And yet every calculation failed. Every attempt ended the same. Humans watching, recording, understanding, while Imperial forces struggled to keep pace. A communications officer tried again to hail the ship. "This is the Empire. Identify yourself. State your intentions." Silence answered. Not aggression, not surrender. Silence. A quiet presence that said more than any threat could. The message was clear. Humanity did not need to shout. Humanity did not need fleets. Humanity moved as if the Empire were a chessboard, and they alone understood the rules of the game. The unknown vessel finally paused near a core system. Not inside, not threatening colonies, not striking. It hovered almost casual while Imperial forces aligned around it. Analysts noticed something strange. The ship was scanning the same systems that had fired at it. Every trajectory, every energy discharge, every prediction of its movement was being measured. Imperial pride twisted into fear. Every officer understood what was happening. This was not a battle. This was an examination, and humanity was grading them. In the council chambers, one elder muttered aloud, words usually kept private. "They are smarter. We underestimated them for centuries." The Admiral's knuckles whitened as he slammed his fist on the table. "And we adapt. We must understand. We must anticipate. We must be human ourselves." A young analyst laughed softly, incredulously. "You can't become them. Not in centuries. Not in 1,000 lifetimes. They are already ahead." Imperial sensors tracked every subtle move of the vessel. Every faint fluctuation in energy. Every pulse of radiation. And every movement, every hesitation, Every attempt at prediction failed. The Empire's teeth, its fleets, its weapons, its traditions, had been bared, and they had been ignored. The vessel moved once more. Slowly, deliberately, it drifted toward the edges of known Imperial space, leaving nothing behind. No attack, no message, no warning. But it left one unmistakable mark. The Empire had been tested and found lacking. Officers across the command chain sat frozen, staring at empty space where the impossible ship had vanished. For the first time in recorded history, the Empire felt small and yet alive. Somewhere far away, human operators smiled quietly. They had not struck. They had not threatened. They had only watched hand. The Empire had shown its teeth. And now humanity would teach it a lesson it would never forget. If you want, I can now continue Part 4, which introduces the hidden message in the ship's silence and escalates suspense with unique HFY twists. It will be around 1,000 words, third person, cinematic, and maintain continuity. Do you want me to proceed? For days, the Empire scrambled to understand what had happened. Sensor logs were replayed endlessly. Probes had returned with fragments of impossible data. Every system, every fleet, every command network pulsed with tension. And still, the vessel had vanished without a trace. It had left no attack, no warning, no ransom, no threat, only silence. That silence, however, was not empty. Imperial analysts soon realized the anomalies were deliberate. Each disappearance, each impossible maneuver, each second the vessel lingered in view had been precise. The ship had created patterns in timing, in energy fluctuations, in sensor readings. And someone or something had been recording every response from the Empire. "Look at this," a junior officer said, pointing at a display covered in overlapping vectors. "It's mapping us. Every fleet movement, every probe launch, every decision. It's predicting our behavior." A senior tactician leaned closer, frowning. "That is not a battle plan. That is observation. It's learning who we are, how we act, what we value. This is not a warship. This is an examination." Across the High Council chambers, the realization rippled through elders like a cold wind. Some refused to accept it. We are the Empire. We have ruled for thousands of years, and nothing studies us without consequence. Yet the evidence was undeniable. Every attempt at engagement had been anticipated. Every probe, every weapon, every strategy had failed to catch the ship. Not by chance, not by luck, but by design. And the vessel had done this without once firing a shot. Fleet Command tried to respond differently. Instead of pursuit, they switched to passive observation, hoping to see the ship's next move. Sensors recorded every detail, but the vessel remained distant, patient, and calm. Then a single data pulse appeared on one of the arrays. It was brief, subtle, and unlike anything the Empire had seen before. The signal contained no language the Empire recognized. Not words, not code, not commands. It carried structure, rhythm, and intent. Analysts tried to decode it. Hours passed. Days passed. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The pulse was not meant to communicate with the Empire in the way they were used to. It was a message hidden in silence. The ship had been sending its evaluation all along. Every move it had made, every test it had run, every calculated pause had been a signal. The Empire had been talking to the wrong kind of intelligence. The humans had not attacked. They had not even responded to attempts at hailing. Instead, they had been quietly measuring, testing, and teaching. "It's almost like a lecture," one analyst whispered, voice shaking. "Not words, but logic, purpose, observation. Everything it does is meant to show us something about ourselves." The High Council grew tense. They were not accustomed to lessons from anyone, least of all from a species they had long considered insignificant. Some members argued for sending an ultimatum, demanding compliance, acknowledging humanity as a minor power at best. Others urged caution, recognizing that the vessel's patience was not weakness, but confidence. Meanwhile, the unknown ship moved again, subtly, along the outer edge of Imperial space. It did not advance toward colonies. It did not retreat. It traced paths near stations and military installations, scanning, recording, observing. Its movements were deliberate, almost gentle, yet impossible. Every step was measured to reveal exactly what the Empire would do and exactly how they would react. Back in Sensor Command, a younger analyst finally voiced what everyone had been thinking. It's not trying to fight us, showing us that our systems, our fleets, our tactics are predictable. The room went silent. No one wanted to admit it aloud, but the implication was terrifying. This was not a threat in the traditional sense. It was a mirror. It reflected the Empire's pride, its overconfidence, its rigidity. Every failure in calculation, every hesitation, every mistake had been recorded and stored by a force that did not need to act immediately. The High Council convened an emergency. They argued over strategy, doctrine, and history. Every precedent they cited seemed suddenly meaningless. No one could recall a single encounter where the Empire had been studied so thoroughly and found wanting without even a skirmish. And yet, every officer in the room understood a bitter truth. The humans did not need to attack to demonstrate superiority. Then came the twist. Another data burst appeared, this one larger and more complex. Analysts noticed it contained patterns corresponding not to fleet movements, but to intelligence gathering sequences. Sensor calibration data, even battle readiness reports. The vessel had recorded the Empire's strengths and weaknesses in exacting detail. It had watched without interference, cataloged without destruction, and revealed its conclusions through silence. One elder, white-haired and trembling, finally spoke. They are teaching us without firing a shot. They are proving that we are predictable, that our might alone is insufficient. Even our greatest fleets can be outmaneuvered before a battle begins. The room shuddered under the weight of the revelation. The Empire had always relied on size, speed, firepower, and fear. Now all of it seemed insufficient. They were being measured, studied, and outmatched, not through brute force, but through intellect and restraint. A captain in the outer systems reported the final observation. The ship was retreating. It had reached the edge of known sensor range. Yet the Empire understood it was not leaving in fear. It was leaving in judgment. Humanity's message had been delivered. The Empire had been observed, tested, and quietly schooled. For the first time, the Empire felt small, not weak. Not defeated, but measured, found wanting, and the consequences of that assessment were unclear. The unknown vessel disappeared into the dark, leaving no trace, no signature, no answer to the Empire's questions. But the silence it left behind spoke volumes. Humanity had arrived, and it did not need fleets, weapons, or declarations to command respect. In every command chamber, across every fleet, officers and analysts alike realized the same truth. The humans had demonstrated something far more powerful than firepower. They had demonstrated patience, intellect, and restraint. They had demonstrated the ability to see the Empire as it was, and to teach it without speaking a single word. Somewhere far beyond Imperial space, human operators smiled quietly. Their test was complete. The Empire had responded exactly as expected. The lesson had been delivered. And humanity's presence, though silent, would now shape every decision the Empire made for centuries to come. The galaxy had changed. The Empire did not yet know it. Weeks passed, but the Empire remained on edge. Every fleet, every border station, every sensor array operated under heightened alert. The unknown vessel had vanished, but its impact lingered like a shadow stretching across the galaxy. Analysts replayed the data, trying to find flaws, patterns they could exploit, any clue to predict the humans' next move. Each attempt ended the same: frustration, confusion, and the slowly dawning realization that humanity had been underestimated. The truth came slowly, in pieces, and not from Imperial channels. Spread through intelligence networks, rumors carried by traders and explorers who had glimpsed the impossible vessel in the outer systems. Some claimed it belonged to a new civilization, long thought extinct. Others insisted it was a human ship, but humanity had been dismissed centuries ago as irrelevant, confined to isolated sectors and minor colonies. The idea seemed absurd, impossible, yet every report, every data fragment pointed to one conclusion: the vessel was human. High Council members refused to believe it at first. Humans were primitive, unpredictable, and uncooperative by the Empire's standards. They had been ignored, dismissed, and forgotten. How could a species so underestimated now appear with a ship that defied the laws of physics and the reach of Imperial fleets? Fleet Command demanded verification. They traced the vessel's last known course, sending long-range probes and observation drones. What they found stunned them. Beyond the edge of mapped space, humans had constructed networks, hidden stations, and ships capable of speeds and maneuvers the Empire had never imagined. Entire fleets could exist in shadow, unnoticed, moving silently across sectors thought empty. Humanity had been present all along, just beyond reach, silently mastering the galaxy, while the Empire believed itself supreme. The revelation sparked fear and awe. Officers who had once mocked humanity now faced an uncomfortable truth. Humans had not only survived, but they had evolved. They had studied, planned, and waited, accumulating knowledge and technology far beyond Imperial understanding. The vessel that had appeared in sensor space was only a messenger, a warning, a demonstration of what humans could do when they chose to reveal themselves. A message finally arrived, subtle and indirect. It's not through hails, not through force, but via a data burst carried across subspace. It contained coordinates, schematics, and a simple statement: human-controlled space, beyond which the Empire would face consequences if it advanced. No threat, no demand, just clarity. The humans had acted as guardians, not conquerors. Yet the implications were undeniable. The Empire's expansion into certain regions was no longer a choice. Humanity was ready to defend its space with precision and restraint. Imperial generals struggled with how to respond. Attacking the humans directly was no longer just risky, it was unthinkable. Their fleets could not predict human movement. Their weapons could not reach them before they vanished. Even intelligence efforts were thwarted by subtle manipulations, advanced technology, and careful planning. Every attempt to gain an advantage ended with the uncomfortable realization that humans were always one step ahead. The Council convened an emergency, debating strategy and doctrine. Some elders argued for immediate negotiation, offering concessions to avoid confrontation. Others suggested retreat, redrawing borders, and acknowledging human influence in the outer sectors. Still, a few hardliners refused to bend, unwilling to recognize a species they had long deemed inconsequential. Each debate ended in stalemate. Humanity had shifted the balance of power without firing a single shot. Back in the fleet corridors, human observers remained unseen. Their ships did not hover menacingly, and their fleets did not assemble in aggressive formation. Yet every Imperial action was mirrored, studied, and understood. The humans acted with patience, showing control over space and time, intelligence and restraint. The Empire's pride had been challenged not by force, but by mastery. Colonies on the edge of known space felt the presence of humanity without understanding it. Sensor anomalies, fleeting glimpses of craft, subtle adjustments in navigational data, these were all evidence of human control. Traders whispered of impossible speeds and movements, of silent ships that appeared only when necessary. And everywhere the message spread quietly. Humans were watching, and they were ready. Some commanders began to change tactics. They studied human methods, tried to predict their intentions, and adapted their fleets to be more flexible. Yet the humans remained unpredictable in the ways that mattered most: intelligence, strategy, and patience. They had built an advantage not through size or firepower, but through restraint, observation, and superior thinking. Then came the final demonstration. A convoy of human ships entered a contested sector for a brief, calculated mission. Imperial forces scrambled, expecting aggression. The humans moved slowly, deliberately, scanning every system, recording every response, then left without confrontation. No shots fired, no orders given. The Empire realized the lesson. Humans did not need to attack to dominate. They acted when necessary, with precision and inevitability. Across Imperial space, confidence faltered. The strategists recalculated expansion plans. Generals revised patrol routes. Admirals debated whether to maintain fleets at full readiness indefinitely. The Empire was strong, but its strength alone no longer mattered. Humanity had introduced a new variable: intelligence, patience, and superior understanding of the cosmos. Finally, the High Council admitted the truth. Humanity was no longer a minor species. It had grown quietly, strategically, and decisively, mastering regions the Empire had never noticed. The unknown vessel had been the first sign, the signal that humanity had stepped out of the shadow and would now shape the future of the galaxy. The Empire faced a choice. They could fight, risking annihilation and humiliation, or they could acknowledge human power and adapt. The answer was clear in every command room. The balance of the galaxy had shifted. Humanity had arrived. They had acted with restraint, intelligence, and precision, proving that power was not only measured in fleets and weapons, but in control, patience, and cunning. Imperial officers finally understood what the humans had demonstrated. Might without understanding was hollow. Speed without foresight was meaningless. Firepower without intelligence was fragile. Humanity had shown that true strength lay in mastery of the mind, mastery of space, and mastery of restraint. And somewhere in the dark reaches of the galaxy, humans observed quietly, their lesson complete, their presence known, and their dominance silently established. The Empire had seen the shadow of humanity, and it could not look away. The galaxy had changed forever, and the humans had stepped into the light not with violence, but with inevitability. The silence after the human vessel's departure was deafening. Imperial fleets returned to their stations, but no one relaxed. The anomaly had vanished, yet the impact remained, heavier than any weapon could deliver. Officers stared at empty space, and for the first time, many felt that the Empire was not the apex of the galaxy. They had been outmaneuvered without a single shot fired. High Council chambers were crowded with advisors, generals, and analysts. The debate was heated, louder than any the Empire had known in decades. Some argued for immediate retaliation, a show of strength to reassert dominance. Others warned that any attempt at confrontation would be suicidal. Every strategy was uncertain. Every plan, no matter how elaborate, could fail against humans who had already proven unpredictably superior. Sensors still tracked anomalies in the outer systems. Fleets were deployed on high alert, but every movement was calculated with the understanding that humans were watching. No patrol route could be considered safe. Every probe could be anticipated, every signal analyzed. Imperial leaders realized that the Empire's arrogance, its reliance on size, firepower, and fear had been challenged in a way they could not fully counter. A young officer, only recently promoted, spoke quietly in the council. They didn't attack. They didn't destroy. They didn't even communicate directly. And yet we are shaken. They didn't need to fight us, because they taught us ourselves. The statement echoed through the room. Senior members leaned forward, some frowning, others silent. They understood the truth. Humans had forced the Empire to adapt not through violence, but through intelligence, patience, and restraint. The Empire's rules, strategies, and doctrines built over centuries were no longer enough. Humanity had shifted the balance without firing a weapon. Fleet Command ordered a full reassessment. Every fleet, every weapon system, every sensor array was analyzed with a new lens. What had failed? What had been anticipated? How could humans move faster, react smarter, and manipulate space without detection? For days, scientists and engineers worked in shifts, recalculating propulsion theory, revising navigation algorithms, and designing new ways to observe the stars. They were building an empire that could fight not just with might, but with foresight. Colonies near the outer borders noticed a change as well. Trade routes were rerouted. Convoys moved cautiously. Every station reported irregular readings. Humans had shown restraint, yes, but the lesson was clear. The Empire could not assume space was empty, or that its borders were unchallenged. Humanity had entered the galaxy quietly, but their presence was undeniable. And it would now influence every aspect of Imperial planning. The High Council sent envoys to the outer sectors tasked with studying anomalies and human signals. They were forbidden to engage directly. Every mission was observation only, but even this brought tension. Officers knew that any misstep could alert the humans, who could act at a speed the Empire could not match. Respect for the unknown was growing into a rule of its own. In secret, human vessels watched. They did not interfere. They did not threaten. Yet their observation was thorough, precise, and unyielding. Every decision by the Empire was catalogued, analyzed, and evaluated. Humans had taught the Empire the value of patience and intellect, and now they ensured the lesson would continue silently. The Empire's pride had been wounded. Admirals who once boasted of supremacy now moved cautiously, considering possibilities they had never imagined. Strategists debated the implications of humans who could manipulate spacetime, travel faster than expected, and predict responses without revealing themselves. Imperial scholars began rewriting their theories, acknowledging that a species previously thought weak had quietly surpassed them in critical areas. One council elder, long respected for wisdom, admitted aloud what everyone had known in secret. "We have faced invaders, rebels, even superweapons, but this is different. They did not fight us, yet they forced us to reconsider everything. They have taught us humility. We must learn it or risk destruction by our own arrogance." Orders went out to every fleet in station: adapt or become irrelevant. New training protocols emphasized intelligence over brute force. Fleets were reorganized to react to unseen variables. Sensor systems were redesigned to anticipate what had been previously unthinkable. The Empire, for the first time in millennia, admitted that size, speed, and firepower alone were insufficient. Meanwhile, the humans had returned to the shadows. Their vessel moved silently through uncharted sectors, leaving no trace but the echoes of its presence. It had not attacked. It had not conquered. It had simply revealed that mastery of intelligence, patience, and restraint could challenge even the mightiest empire. Imperial officers could not stop thinking about the implications. Humanity was no longer distant, irrelevant, or weak. They had stepped from obscurity with precision, observation, and perfect timing. Their presence forced the Empire to confront its own limitations and adapt in ways that would affect strategy for generations. Colonists whispered stories of the ghost ship that moved impossibly fast, studied without confrontation, and disappeared before it could be caught. Scholars debated the implications. Traders worried about routes and supply lines. Admirals recalculated fleet deployments. Every corner of the Empire felt the shift, a quiet recognition that humanity had changed the rules. And somewhere far beyond Imperial reach, humans observed quietly, calculating the next lesson, the next test, the next step. They did not need to fight. They had proven that restraint, intelligence, and patience were superior weapons. The Empire had seen it, understood it, and begun to adapt. Humanity's presence would now shape every decision, every strategy, every action. The galaxy had been forced to reconsider what it meant to be powerful. The Empire had been tested, and humans had emerged, unseen and unchallenged, as the measure of what strength truly was. The lesson was clear. Size and firepower were no longer enough. Mastery of intellect, patience, and foresight defined true dominance. The Empire would survive, but it would never again underestimate humanity. And humanity, moving silently through the void, had already begun to shape the galaxy in ways no one yet understood. The galaxy had changed. The Empire had adapted. And humans, stepping quietly out of the shadows, now watched as the universe slowly caught up to them.